So great. And you've been like, you guys have been gobbling it up. I love Theatrius, my favorite.
You are really making gay theater gay.
Keeping it gay. Keeping it gay, gay, gay. I came from a high school where
They're all
everybody,
gay.
I know the teachers were these big, wonderful gay queens.
Queens.
And then I get to
teachers are supposed to be queens.
exactly, and then I by the time I got to Berkeley, it was so butch, and I was like, well, butch is fine, but not everybody, and so
Well,
yeah.
Berkeley was uptight. I mean, Berkeley, it's not exactly the cutting edge.
Well, no, it's true, and there's that whole. I think there's the whole drama thing where drama's not taken seriously.
Well, yeah, it was tough being gay in Berkeley in the 60s. So I went to Paris, which is much gayer. What possessed you to do this Herculean task? You have produced more plays than anybody during the COVID, and you keep doing it. I have no idea.
Thank you.
What provoked you, and what got into you?
I've done 25 solo shows since the beginning of Shelter in Place, one for each week. I went into it it was the first week of Shelter in Place, and I was kind of freaking out like everybody.
Was it February or March?
It was March 14th was Shelter in Place.
Right.
And on that day, I decided on Saturday, I'm going to put on a play. And it's going to be, it's going to be half hour, 45 minutes. I'm going to talk about Hawaii and going to Hawaii and being in Hawaii while the pandemic was hitting and wondering if we were going to get home. And I'm just going to talk about the pandemic. And when I was halfway through developing that, I decided I want to do this every week so that I have something else going on. It's like, that's what the best defense is, good offense. I wanted just, I will take care of everything. We will shop, we will shelter in place, we will be safe, we will maintain social distancing, I will keep the theater going. But what are we going to add? As opposed to a subtraction from life, what are we going to add? And I just thought, we're going to put on plays. We're going to, and there was that, and then we did readings. Joe and I organized readings. We did a series of plays about the Supreme Court, gay issues in the Supreme Court, called SCOTUS Gay.
SCOTUS.
Yeah.
I saw.
And Joe and I would work all day long on development, on the subscribers, on keeping, the theater going. And at night, we put on shows. And I think we've got 36 total shows now online on the Rhino website for people to watch, and people do see them much later than they were done, but they're all live. Nothing is pre-recorded because one of them is really hard to watch, but that's what it was, and because the sound was off. But and then the Marsh saw a couple of them and asked me to repeat them on the Marsh, so I have been able to do a few again on the Marsh, which was a great experience. And we've been doing radio shows on KALW.
Oh, really?
They have a thing called Corona Radio Theater, and they asked us to do. We've done 2 shows on Corona Radio Theater, and that is no visuals, just which is great because it gets me back into my hole. But I think the thing is that I've got so many stories to tell, and I talk to myself like this little kid thing. I imagine I'm like, generals fighting the Battle of the Bulge, or I'm climbing Mount Everest or something. I just talk to myself as characters. I'm like, I can talk to myself, or I can put it into a text and rehearse it and present it, that is definitely a lot less crazy than talking to myself. So a part of it is just sanity. But I think everybody now is frustrated if they're live performers. And I feel sort of reinvigorated. I feel like I've discovered a new part of myself.
St. John Fisher.
It's like all these people got their lives messed up by Henry VIII, and nobody has any remembrance of him because he was Catholic and he was a bishop, and we don't like them. We don't like Catholics anymore.
But what about the ones who were sainted? St. Thomas More and Wolsey, they were all Catholic bishops. who fought
Yeah,
the
but they
Beast,
were
and now they're big heroes with
they're
Man
big
for All
hero-
Seasons.
they're big heroes, but I think that they were also, Wolsey was also the chancellor, and Thomas More was the chancellor. I mean, they had other positions.
I see.
What's his name? John Fisher always had one position, and that was,
I see.
you can't do this for religious reasons. You are
Yeah.
betraying your wife.
Yeah.
This is a bond, a marriage bond. And I think that we think those things are kind of silly now, but the fact is that Wolsey was incredibly corrupt and rich, and Thomas More was in that movie, and we respect people. If they get a movie made out of them, thumbs up. If
Paul Scofield plays him, you're in.
Well, that's true. And somehow John Fisher got lost in all this. And I'm not just, yes, we share the same name, but he was actually a profoundly dedicated, reverent man. He's sort of the ideal of a Catholic bishop now. It's like we should have them this devoted. But I've known a lot of people in the Catholic Church who are like that they really do believe. And they see the strength of the church and what it does do. It was just sort of my rumination on why do people like him get left behind?
For a while, I thought it was really your experience.
My mother-in-law said that. She was like, did you? I said, no, I did not. I mean, the character's dead at the end. He got eaten by a shark. Come on.
No, by that time I figured it out. And I thought, I really was following it along. You're very convincing. I thought, so John sails on the bay by himself. Well, he's a much braver guy than I realized.
I mean, I did do that, but I didn't sail out to
the Golden Gate.
No, I didn't. No, I'm not crazy. And
thank God.
Well, that character was like, what was he thinking?
You build on a basis that is you, and then he just goes all over the edge.
It is very much me.
Like I believe that you dumped your uncle in the bay.
I did. That's true.
Oh my God.
That actually is true.
Really?
I almost killed, that part of the story is true. I almost killed my uncle. So
Gay uncle?
Well, we don't know about him. I loved him dearly. And I think in the way that, me not being out of the closet and him, sort of being who he was, I think we connected on some sort of deeper level that we didn't really either acknowledge. And I did take him out on the boat and I did dump him in the bay. And I feel like I almost killed him. Yeah.
Well, sure.
I feel like I almost killed him.
Bad boy.
And he was such a gentleman. He like swam to shore and yeah. And then
God. You did almost kill him.
I did almost kill him. Then he helped me haul the boat out of the water and we never talked about it. But he was so sweet. He didn't get angry and he didn't tell my parents. And yeah, bad. So that character was autobiographical. And I'm a little bit crazy. I would do these things when I was young. Like, I can do this. And then sometimes I put other people in danger.
Not to mention yourself.
Well, yeah, but that's my rights. I mean, I have the right to like destroy myself, but I don't have the right to destroy my uncle because my father would have been pissed. He would have been like, you drowned your uncle. I don't understand. How could you do that? My father would have sued me. That was my father, the attorney. He would have sued me. He said, you know what? I'm not going to represent myself. I'm going to get somebody else, but I'm going to sue you. So you better get a good attorney because that's my only brother and you killed him. No, he was a wonderful man. And fortunately I didn't have to, explain why my uncle drowned to him. That, I saved my uncle.
Did you have to explain to him about being gay?
Yeah, he wasn't so good on that one. But he got over it.
Really? He did. Good for him.
Yeah, his reaction was, don't tell your mother. And I told my mother the same day, and her reaction was, don't tell your father. I was like, do these two rehearse? I mean,
so you're in the clear there.
Right. I'm like, well, I guess I'm somewhere in between. And then it was just like, they were silly for a year, and then they got over it. It's like nothing happened.
So there you are doing all of these plays. How do you find new topics every week? And how much in advance do you research?
I don't, the topic, my rules are this. I don't start on the new show until the old show is finished. On Wednesday, I send out the title and a blurb. And on Thursday, after that week's show, I start on the next one. Wow. So everything happens in a week.
Yes.
And, the research, the writing, the development, the rehearsal, and the presentation is all 1 week. And that's the rule. I don't, they're not backed up. They're not, some of the ideas are old, but I really have not. So it's theater in a week. And I feel like it's my, what is it? The Texaco theater, or, what those things in the 50s.
Milton Berle.
Yes.
On Tuesday nights, the Texaco something theater.
Right, exactly. And those old things where the people like Rod Serling and Patty Chayefsky,
Twilight Zone, Hallmark Hall of Fame.
They wrote a show in a week.
Yeah.
A lot of famous movies like Days of Wine and Roses came from those live broadcasts.
Yes.
And incredible scripts. I mean, there are no better writers than Rod Serling and Patty Chayefsky, who came out of that whole thing.
Right.
And I've always been sort of struck by that. So I don't know, I sort of stumbled into this. It's incredibly fulfilling and energizing, and keeps me going, and keeps me positive. And there's endless technical problems. It's like getting the Wi-Fi to work, getting the sound to work. Between 6 and 8, I've got Joe and Christine with me, and we're like, we can't get on Facebook. We can't get to record. It's like,
oh my God.
And so it's like really doing theater, which is always on opening night, just like everything's wrong. And then the curtain goes up and it's like, I hope nobody notices.
Yes. So it's almost like live theater.
It feels, every bit of it feels live to me. This little green light, that's my audience. And, yes, they're not, I can't hear them, but I'm just like, they're there. I feel it. I do feel it, because I feel nervous going in front of them. And I'm so happy I did it, because it just keeps going on and on and on. And I don't know when this is going to lift.
Well, the theater thing is going to go on for a long time.
I don't know. I want it to end like everybody else. I do miss the live audience. I absolutely do. Yeah, but
I want to get out of the house.
I want to get out of the house.
I hate it.
Want to travel. All these things. Like you'd be in New York at this time.
New York and Paris.
And
that's
Paris.
Where I go.
But it's like, this is I think what's great about this is like, we can't. It's not allowed. So it's not on us. It's not like, oh God, I feel so neurotic. I failed. I didn't do this thing I wanted to do. It's like, no, you can't do that.
No.
So
you can't go to an airport. You'd be crazy.
You can't go to an airport. You can't go into a theater. You can't, so what
subway?
can you do? You can do, it's tech. This is tech's triumph. This is our moment with tech, because tech is making, and this is where tech gives back to those of us who do live things. And, it's like, we're always trying to like squeeze tech into the live experience, but here it's like tech is making the live experience possible. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful for those of us who are like, no, I'm live. I'm not movies. I'm not TV. I'm this live thing. And now we're like, okay, thank you, tech. Writing's difficult. The only solution I've ever come up with for writing is I'm going to write for an hour. And, I don't care if the building falls down. I'm going to keep writing. If I have to go to the bathroom, too bad. I should have gone before. It's just like I'm going to sit and write. And then I can take a break. But
Peter Elbow says write in 10-minute slots. But anyway.
I think it's about like, it's like
discipline.
Goals. Yeah, it's about discipline and goals. And it's like an hour is not that much time.
Are you free writing just anything that comes in your head?
This is the worst. I type.
Yeah.
And then the typing is so bad. I have to go back and spend another hour. And some words I can't even figure out, what is that?
That's okay. That's how it should be. That's called free writing. It should be messy. You don't have to have sentences. You don't have to have paragraphs. Right. You don't worry about spelling or capitals. Just and then suss it out later.
You can suss it out later. And I think that everything has to start that way. My favorite group of playwrights, not individuals, but group, are the British political playwrights.
Who are they?
David Hare, Howard Barker, Howard Brenton. Because at a moment in the 60s and 70s and early 80s with plays like Romans in Britain and Plenty, they really just, they hit it. They're just like, I'm going to talk about Margaret Thatcher. I'm going to talk about Ireland. I'm going to talk about the Tories. They really just, and the great thing was that they were supported by the Royal Shakespeare Company and the Royal National Theatre. They weren't, it wasn't at the Royal Court. They were at, for them, the equivalent of, Lincoln Center. I mean, they got the support. And that moment I've always admired because, we haven't had that here. I mean, when we get a big, profound piece of theater, it has to kind of claw its way up from obscurity. We don't get somebody like producing it out of the gate on our most important stage and running the risk of losing government money. So those are the people, and they called themselves political playwrights, and I've always admired that about them.
I didn't know that. I didn't know about them.
Well, you know those playwrights.
Not really much. I know David Hare.
Yeah, well,
I've only just heard of a little.
Well, Barker and Brenton. Brenton's probably my favorite because he was just his plays are just rabid on the subject.
What did he write?
His most famous one is Romans in Britain.
I didn't know that.
Which is all about colonialism and
wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I put on the American premiere in Room 7 of Zellerbach. Room 7, right? And he wrote me a nice letter. He was like, "I'm so glad you're doing my play."
Oh, that's
I talked to
sweet.
him on the phone, but I think that they really captured that kind of what theater is supposed to be about, because it's supposed to confront people.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
In the tradition of Brecht.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yes.
Of course. Obviously.
Yes. Brecht is the man. He is the man, because for him it was like, without politics, there's nothing. If you don't have a political stance, you should not be doing theater. You should do something. Do something else. And he, he's the man. I mean,
that's what I love about these plays you're doing. They each one have a stance, have a position of some kind.
Thank you. But that was Brecht. I mean,
that's Brecht.
He understood that, in his view, communism was the only solution, and the alternative was fascism. And if we don't establish a government of the people, we're going to succumb to fascism. And he was right. And he got chased out of Germany, and he ended up back in East Berlin. And his plays are magnificent. The Mother Courage, Caucasian Chalk Circle, Good Woman of Szechuan. I mean, they're just astonishing. And in translation, which I think translation kills everything, but his stuff somehow comes through. Yeah, we're doing a whole season of plays. We're going to announce it in 2 weeks.
In addition to your plays.
In addition to my plays. The emphasis this season is on BIPOC issues. So
what issues? What kind?
BIPOC, diversity issues. It's Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
And so you're going to base your season on that now?
Right. So our plays are all about either African-American issues or Latinx issues. And also, of course, queer, lesbian, gay, and lesbian. And so this is our way of saying this is where it's at right now. This is, what we want to see. We're also, we're trying to diversify our board, show greater diversity on our board. And, I think we're really trying to respond to what's happening in America right now, which is that people feel that there's no equality of opportunity.
Exactly.
There's no equality of income. There's no, and it's like, Theatre Rhino is not a big organization, but we have the opportunity to spread it around, and there's no reason why we shouldn't. And we've always been telling stories for a diversity of people, but there's no reason why we can't do more. And I think this is the moment. And
you're going to put them on. You're going to put them on the screen.
The theme of the season is inside outside. So the first half of the season is COVID productions on Zoom, And that goes through January 31st. And then hopefully we are announcing that our first in the theater show will be in the spring. But if not, it'll have to be online. But, that's what we're announcing. So we begin inside, on Zoom. And by the end of the season, we hope to be producing outside. So inside, outside, like inside the closet, outside the closet.
Cool.
On Zoom, back in the theaters.
What's the first play going to be?
It's called Overlooked Latinas.
Overlooked Latinas.
It's about Latin actresses, Latinx performers in Hollywood in the 30s, and the enormous influence they had, and how, largely they're forgotten. And it's sort of a wonderful story about somebody making their journey through this time in Hollywood. And so a lot of these people like Ramon Navarro, who's also queer, and this stuff is all forgotten. Is
it called Overlooked Latinos or Overlooked Latinas?
Overlooked Latinas. So he's like the one guy who's talked about, but mostly it's about the Latinas in Hollywood who are forgotten now. So the season is Latinx and African American and queer and lesbian, and we'll start online and then we'll move back into the theaters.
Thank you for talking.
My pleasure.
It's such a great pleasure. It's almost like being there.
Well, that's what I'm telling people. Zoom works.
Except when it gets stuck every once in a while.
Well, people get stuck. We get stuck. We get stuck.
Anyway, bravo to you for the shows. The real reason I wanted to do is because I wanted to tell you how wonderful the shows are. I look forward to them every week.